I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Constitutional Attorney Catherine Henry, and welcome to this week's episode of Restore Freedom Weekly. This is episode number 12 of this weekly series, and this week I think we have a pretty interesting topic. It's not as passionate and heated as some of the discussions have been that have made it into the national spotlight and with mainstream media, but this is nonetheless a topic that quite a few people do bring up or ask me about in a variety of circumstances, so I figured we needed to get it addressed. So, hi Jeff, I'm not sure what the comment about me being blocked on YouTube is, but he's saying that we should all move to Rumble, and we do have this live streaming on Rumble as well today, so please feel free to join us over there if you're on a different platform and encountering any kind of issues. All right, so today I want to first remind you guys, or let you know if you didn't already hear, that we have our Restore Freedom Weekly newsletter that has finally started to go out again. We began the newsletter at the beginning of 2021 and had several versions or editions of it. And then with the challenges of 2021 continuing to build, we were unable to get any of those editions out the remainder of the year or the first couple of months of 2022. But fear not, your one-stop shop for weekly updates is now available. So please feel free to sign up for our weekly newsletter. You can do so on our website. There's a link down at the bottom on the main page, as well as on our resources tab and also our contact us page. So this week is one of my favorites as far as our Restore Freedom weekly goodie goes. This is one that I have put on my vehicles, and my dad has put one on his vehicle, and several other people have put these on, and it's great. This is our, of course, it's going to blur it out, but our Restore Freedom, More Freedom, Less Government 3-inch by 24-inch car magnet. We would love for you to help support our mission to restore freedom by purchasing one of these at our cost. We don't make any money. In fact, I had to go ahead and set a price that I'm hoping the U.S. Postal Service will actually follow through on using and not increase it on me too much, so I don't continue to lose money on sending these items out. But anyway, it is $16.99, and that does cover the cost of shipping. At least I hope it does. But anyway, it's one low flat fee for you. We would ask that you get those to put on your vehicles, especially vehicles that kind of have that contour and are a little too hard to have any kind of bigger magnet, or on your front door, or on a mailbox, or a variety of other places that are magnetic. We would love to have that support. As you probably saw, there is a QR code in the middle here, which allows people that see the magnet to be able to scan it with their phone, and it'll take them right to our website, and they'll be able to see all the hot topic links, so to speak. And of course, today is one of those days where I have invisible hair in my eye and stuck to my face. There we go. So at any rate, so it's a good, simple way to let people know you support restoring our freedom and that you love more freedom and less government, and giving people that option to scan that QR code to get the resources that are available online for free. So we also want to make sure that we are starting this conversation off right by focusing on what is God's word on this topic. And it's important as we go into any kind of rumors or conspiracy theories or anything of that nature, that we're determining whether something is actually true before we're deciding to pass it along, down the grapevine, or that telephone game that we played when we were in elementary school. So with that being said, I want to turn to Matthew 10, verse 16. I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and as innocent as doves. So I'm assuming you guys probably know what innocent means, but I wanted to make sure we were on the same page about what shrewd really means in this context. So we can look actually at the Merriam-Webster dictionary, which tells us that being shrewd is marked by clever, discerning awareness, and common sense. I love that. It actually says common sense. Something I talk about us needing to have and exercise all the time. And also 1 John 4, verse 1. Dear friends, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God, because many false prophets have gone out into the world. That's very important. That's something that I'm hopefully instilling in you if it wasn't already there, or just encouraging it if it was already there. The idea, the notion, the concept of testing the information, checking for yourself the information that people give to you, because there's a lot of people out there that, we assume are all on our side of freedom or constitutionalism or, biblical values or any of that. And so many times we're led astray, sometimes because the individual or the organization is purposely leading us astray. Sometimes they are totally well-intentioned, but they have the information wrong. So my goal is for you on any of these topics to be able to test that information out, to really look and see for yourself the firsthand accounts or the source documents, to not just believe everything you see in here, even from me, that you double check for yourself, which is why I give you the resources or freedom fighting tools of the week, so that you are empowered to take back and restore your freedom. Colossians 2:8 says that see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy. That's very important, and I guess ironic to me personally, because one of my majors in undergraduate education was philosophy. I have an actual degree in philosophy, and it's interesting the kinds of conversations that we had back then. Especially, getting towards our senior capstone courses and things like that, and metaphysics and all kinds of other things, really questioning reality. And my faith was not very developed or strong at the point that I was learning all these things and having these philosophical discussions. So I can only think now of what those courses would have meant to me had I had a stronger biblical background going into them. But again, Colossians 2:8, see to it that no one takes you captive through hollow and deceptive philosophy. It is extremely important that we, again, are discerning and looking and deciphering what is hollow, not backed up with any facts or evidence, no proof, things that are just deceptive and meant to confuse or steer us off course. And then lastly, Proverbs 15, verse 14. And these are all the NIV translation. And this one I think sums it up quite well. The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. And that's so awesome. I'm just going to say it out loud one more time. In Proverbs 15, verse 14, the discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly. So, at any rate, I think that those are good indicators of what God wants for us, what his desire for us is, and that is to be discerning, to use that common sense, to have that discerning awareness, not be taken captive through hollow and deceptive philosophies. So it's with that frame of reference that I'm hoping we will begin this conversation today. And in order to help facilitate you on the discussion and on deciding whether things are true or not, in order to put you in the driver's seat and having that roadmap to be able to figure out what is the truth and whether there's any factual basis to this allegation or conspiracy or whatever you want to call it, that bar attorneys in the United States have actually sworn an allegiance to the Crown of England. And so they cannot actually represent you in court, that by using the term Esquire, that indicates it's an English I don't know, signifier or title of nobility. That's where the discussion comes into some people bringing up the original 13th Amendment. There's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of all revolves around the concept that all U.S. bar attorneys are, according to this theory, that all U.S. bar attorneys are members of the British Accredited Registry or British Accreditation Registry, and have thus sworn an oath to the Crown of England. So, what are the tools that can help you with this discussion? I've put them as links to in the description of this video. You can see the first one is the Michigan Courts website. It's the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct for Attorneys. Now, there is an American Bar Association, the ABA, but it is a voluntary association, and most attorneys, by and large, are actually not members of the American Bar Association. They, at least when I graduated from law school, the ABA essentially gave you a free membership upon being sworn in, and you had that first year to be able to access all their information and publications and whatnot. But most attorneys that I know never did renew that. So I'm not going to lead you down a rabbit hole of talking about things that, people are not necessarily members of. All right. So looks like my computer's lagging a little bit. I'm going to try to go through some of these things and get some tabs closed and see if that helps. The second one is the courts website, the Michigan Courts website, that shows the rules concerning the State Bar of Michigan. Now, some states have a voluntary bar association, like the state of Minnesota, where I was first licensed to practice. The state of Michigan is one of them that is a mandatory membership in order to be a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan. And so those links, like I said, because there is no mandatory U.S. bar or American Bar Association, what I'm providing to you are the Florida and Michigan examples of rules for attorneys and the rules concerning the state bar, etc. If you are not in the state of Michigan or the state of Florida, I'd still ask you to take a look at least the table of contents of the documents that I have in the resources this week, so you can have an understanding of what you would be looking for, and then you'd be able to be in a better position to be able to find those resources for your own state. The next one, there's two actually. The they're still part of the same set of rules, but it's two different chapters I wanted to bring your attention to. So the rules regulating the Florida bar, Chapter 1 and Chapter 4, those are available here in the description of the video. Chapter 1 is the general rules. Chapter 4 is more of that rules for professional conduct. And those are basically analogous to the other ones that I provided to you for the Michigan links. The last one is floridabar.org. It's their frequently asked questions directly from or at the Florida bar. And I think there's some very good questions on there and some important links that you can find. So those are the resources, the freedom fighting tools that I have for you this week. What I want to do is take a brief moment to kind of walk you through some of those. And we are, I'm going to skip over some of I'm going to start by going to, let's see here. I'm going to share my screen with you guys again. Okay. So the allegations or discussion or the theory behind today is that the British Accreditation Registry is something that all U.S. attorneys are secretly a member of, and that means they have secretly sworn an allegiance to the Crown of England. Well, I just searched for British Accreditation Registry or British accrediting registry, whatever different versions that it's known under. And I came across this. It's a little, I don't know. Some of you have probably seen it, but the interesting thing is it has no indicators on the document directly as to who wrote it, when it was published, who it's been shared with, besides just generally being on their website. But they call it Bar Facts. And they start with the British Accreditation Registry. They talk about Commonwealth jurisdictions, and you have bar associations. They start off on the wrong foot right here, but they go on to kind of talk about practicing law without a license, and then goes on to some incorrect historical topics here. And so one of these statements is I don't know who the he is. He is the author of this. I don't know. He is also sick and tired of lawyers being given special status when the truth is that any attorney who has been accepted into the bar has become part of a foreign organization, the British Accreditation Registry. And he says, let's examine this. The British Accreditation Registry, the bar to which lawyers pass a test for and are seemingly proud of. And there's no proof. There's no indication of anything. There's no links. There's no actual examination of this topic. But, and he continues, in fact, to make it perfectly clear, the writer considers 99.9% of lawyers as complete waste in regards to the administration of justice and not worthy to set foot in a place that is to be guided by reason and common sense. That's interesting. I actually would agree with the main concept behind that. I too, this is not a popular statement to make as a licensed attorney in several jurisdictions, but I'm a licensed attorney in several jurisdictions, and I would agree that quite a few lawyers who are licensed or currently admitted to practice in various jurisdictions across the United States are a waste in regards to the administration of justice. I would say quite a few are worse than just being a waste. They're not just sitting there like a bump on a log, not helping further or pursue justice, but oftentimes attorneys, whether it be a defense attorney or a prosecuting attorney or a state attorney general or anything like that, oftentimes we're seeing, and more where these attorneys are actively pursuing unjust outcomes. And that's concerning to me as well. So interestingly enough, this whoever this is that's writing this, and let's see, what was the website again? Let me see if I can find it here for you. National Liberty Alliance.org is where I got this. They talk about the British Accreditation Registry or Bureau, and I think they actually found something that is a real thing, but they're not getting the facts quite correct, and we'll go over that in just a minute. So anyway, I don't know. In his section called The Silent Conquest, thus we may conclude that the allegiance of bar attorneys is not to the law established by the Constitution, and therefore not to the sovereign. Okay. And he talks about being, having the title of Esquire and being a member of the Florida bar, etc. And this nonsense goes on and on and on. So that's what we're talking about. We'll get back to that next piece in a minute. Okay, so the first, I was going to give that link to you guys, and I decided against it, so I'm going to skip on. Okay, so the first link of your freedom fighting tools is actually for the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct. And this applies to attorneys. It says it was last updated last September 3rd. And if you go there, you can look through there as a PDF viewer. It has all the table of contents where you can click on that on the left-hand side and be able to see certain areas. But you can see the rules of professional conduct. So once you're an attorney, what kind of conduct are you required to follow? And it even breaks it down into different types of topics. But there's some pretty good stuff in here. And I would suggest that you start digging into this, because there is a fair amount of really good stuff right here in the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct, which I'm going to, let's lay it out there. It's going to be largely similar to the rules of professional conduct in other states as well. Minnesota and, other states, most other states, if not all other states. The second link I have for you is the rules concerning the State Bar of Michigan. Now, if you go and you get a copy of the Michigan Rules of Court from Westlaw, you are generally going to get the version that has the rules of civil procedure and the rules of criminal procedure. And I don't remember, it's behind me, but there's a few other things, but you'll also see those rules of professional conduct that we just talked about and the rules concerning the State Bar of Michigan. And this talks about membership, and Rule 15, you'll see here, is admission to the bar. And then 16 talks about the unauthorized practice of law. So that's information that goes directly to, especially Rule 15 and Rule 16 goes to the topic we're talking about today. And the next one is the rules regulating the Florida bar. And I'm going to point out something here when we come back into our full discussion. And that was Chapter 1. Chapter 4, Rules of Professional Conduct, and it starts with the preamble of a lawyer's responsibilities, which is our rules of professional conduct in Michigan, do the same thing as well. And the Florida Bar Frequently Asked Questions is the last link that I have for you. And we'll go over later on the oath of admission to the Florida Bar, the actual oath, what it looks like. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I'm going to come back out of that and begin more of our discussion. So I want to go through the topic for today, before I really get into today's or this week's Get Involved challenge, and I think it'll make sense a little bit more when you have the background of what the information is and the resources and how to utilize them, and then be able to hear what the challenge is so you can dive in right away. But today's topic, as you have probably gathered by now, is the truth about allegiance of U.S. bar attorneys. Do U.S. bar attorneys swear an allegiance to or an oath to the Crown of England? Are bar attorneys part of the British Accredited Registry? We talked about what that rumor or conspiracy theory is. Simply put, in the most simplistic terms, if you have been accepted to the bar, any bar in the United States, then you are actually a secret member of the British Accredited Registry, and so therefore you have an oath or an allegiance to the Crown of England. That is what the theory is. Well, I guess I want to share with you that I've always wanted to be a mermaid. So I'm going to tell you right now and publish it all over the web that I am a mermaid. Beautiful, beautiful mermaid. And I can swim through the ocean, and I, rest up on islands, and I have creatures of the sea for friends, and I can leap out like, you see dolphins doing, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, that probably sounds very strange, but my point is, does simply saying I'm a mermaid make it true? This is where we need to use that common sense, that discernment, that quest for learning and understanding and knowledge of facts. We need to use that to determine what is the truth here on this topic. So what is the British Accreditation Registry? Does it exist? Now, I had previously said, when there was the hot topic of Marlena's Bistro in West Michigan, and the MDHHS and the state of Michigan essentially was shutting down her restaurant last year and throwing her in jail. And she had the legal assistance of an unlicensed attorney who ended up getting thrown into jail himself. And he's Rick Martin with the Constitutional Law Group. I did a video talking about it because a lot of people that were supporting him in his involvement in Marlena's case were bashing bar attorneys, but I'll say for the wrong reasons. And I don't know so much if Rick Martin has really jumped on this bandwagon. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I have spoken with him directly or visited his website. But I don't believe he's one that's really encouraging much of this misinformation. But it is being circulated out there. So basically, my concern in that case was that, given those specific facts, he was portraying himself as a licensed attorney. He was lying to the court. He was claiming that he was representing Marlena in that official capacity as a licensed attorney. And so when you commit a fraud upon the court, when you're telling them information that's not true, regardless of the subject, I have a problem with that. We're supposed to be about truth and justice here in the United States. And that having any case based upon lies or misinformation, manipulation, that's where our system gets perverted. That's where our system of justice starts to break down. So do I agree that you should have to have a license in order to practice law? By and large, no. I actually think it's the same as getting your hair cut or going to, a mechanic or having a carpenter come and work on your house, you should be able to hire anybody that you think would do a good job to come and represent you or provide any of those services. But I think what should be required is some sort of indication as to whether the person is licensed. So, for example, I could advertise that I'm a Michigan licensed attorney or a United States Supreme Court licensed attorney or a Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Court licensed attorney, or any of the other jurisdictions that I'm licensed in. I could advertise that I am an attorney who's licensed to practice in those jurisdictions. But if I wanted to go to New York or California or Ohio or something like that, I'm not a licensed attorney in those jurisdictions. So I can't advertise that I'm licensed, but I think, why shouldn't I be able to go and represent people if they want me to and I want to do that work? I can read their laws and the Constitution, just like I'm a resident of Florida now. I'm a resident of Florida, but I'm not a licensed attorney in the courts of Florida. But I have actually read the entirety of Florida statutes and all of their court rules and the rules of appellate procedure and the rules for attorneys, you name it, because of a personal situation we found ourselves in last year when we were moving down here, and our attorney died right in the midst of the most important part of our case, and the court didn't allow us any time to find another attorney. So I was forced to equip myself with the knowledge of going through all that. And then at that point, I actually knew more about the way the law worked in our case, in that type of law, than the other attorney or than the judge who was filling in on our case, because as they both said on the record in court, they didn't really have experience. The judge said, I don't even know how the law works on these kinds of cases. Well, I shouldn't be discredited simply because I was not a licensed attorney down here, when I could cite exactly which laws, which cases, which court rules, you name it, supported my positions, and the other side could not. So anyway, this is not a video talking about how bar attorneys are far superior than mere mortals who are not licensed attorneys. No, this is a video explaining the truth or not of the rumor of whether bar attorneys are part of the British Accreditation Registry, and whether bar attorneys have an allegiance to the Crown of England. So, all right. So that British Accreditation Registry. Here we go. I actually was of the belief when I did that video last year that it was either the end of 2020 or beginning of 2022 when I did that video. And I said, the British Accreditation Registry doesn't exist. I'm pretty sure that's what I said, because I didn't think it did. It certainly does not exist for attorneys, but follow me here. Their website is bar/registrars.org. And it is bar accredited certification improves assurance on credibility of certified organizations. That's a lot of what? I'm an attorney, and it sounds like what? But if you look at it, they have quality management, environmental, British version of OSHA, health and safety, information security. So they have all kinds of certifications. Again, quality management, environmental, health and safety, information security. It has nothing to do with being a US licensed attorney. Absolutely nothing. It's just ridiculous. So I would invite you to look at their website. It's the British, British Accreditation Registrar. And they have the British Accreditation Registry. So this is it. It does exist, but not for attorneys. So what's interesting, though, is if we're going to be so upset about the English or British or whatever origins of some words like the bar, any kind of English roots or ties or origins to any terms we use here in the United States, or any, professions or rules or laws or anything like that, any government institutions, then, well, we would have to essentially erase and rewrite our entire vernacular as a country because, let's face it, although I personally don't have English heritage, mine is mostly Finnish and German. But, well, my husband has a lot of English heritage, so my daughter does, and our kids do. But regardless of what your personal heritage is, our country as a whole was founded, by and large, on the backbone of our experience as a British colony, as an English colony. And the things that we call things, the names that we call things, or the concepts of how our society works together or functions, or different ways that we created our government to be designed, everything like that. It has its basis, its origin in English history, in the history of England. So whether it followed the same trajectory or not is not at issue here. It's just saying that's where a lot of our law, our history in general comes from. So when you're in law school and you start off in Property 101 as a first-year law student, and you're learning about property rights, most often you're going to begin your coursework with, in fact, do I have mine? I do. Give me a second. All right, so this is my first year of law school, Duke and Minier and Cryer, Property, from Aspen Publishers, 5th edition. They probably have the 72nd edition by now. But I'm going to open up, just out of curiosity, what is the first case that they talk about? Well, they talk about first possession, acquisition of property, discovering, capturing, or creating. And I'm going to skip over to where we talk about that. And we have quotes starting here from the 1500s, from 1545. First come, first served. That's how my law school property book starts off. And then we go into full discussion. I'm not sure what that is. At any rate, we then go into discussions on a lot of cases that are from early American history. But we also need to look at some of the Old English cases to really understand property law concepts. Where did they come from? Where did the concept of dower come from? Well, it's not something that we created. So at any rate, we can't just throw out the baby with the bathwater and get rid of all of the vernacular we have and the history we have because it started in another country. Does that mean we have an allegiance or an oath to that other country? Absolutely not. But let's look at some of those terms that are being involved here, where this conspiracy theory revolves around. So looking at bar, okay, we're going to look at Black's Law Dictionary, which hopefully many of you did end up, if you didn't already own one, then you have now purchased a Black's Law Dictionary, hopefully a used one that saved you quite a bit of money over new, but unabridged and not a pocket edition, as we talked about in our episode a few weeks ago. But the bar is in the Black's Law Dictionary defined in a courtroom. It's the railing that separates the front area where court business is conducted from the back area, which provides seats for observers by extension. A similar railing in a legislative assembly. So there's also the gallery where, visitors or observers can stand or sit to watch legislative sessions, but also in the courtroom, but it's the bar. It also is described as the whole body of lawyers qualified to practice in a given court or jurisdiction. It's the legal profession or an organized subset of it. So, and that's in large part what they're talking about right here. But this conspiracy theory actually conflates or confuses bar in basically all as its use as a noun, its use as a verb, its use as, the test. A specialty bar, the Black's Law Dictionary points out, is a voluntary bar association for lawyers, voluntary, with special interests, specific backgrounds, or common practices. So, for example, for years I have been a member of the alternative dispute resolution section of the Michigan State Bar, the children's law section, the religious freedom law section of the Michigan State Bar. Those are specialty voluntary associations. Bar is also defined in Black's Law Dictionary as a particular court or system of courts. And it does say it was originally, case at bar referred to an important case tried at bar in the Royal Courts of Justice in London. Yeah, we're going to get a lot of our definitions and terms from our English roots. Bar examination. The bar is often, as it's called, often stands just for simply the bar examination that you have to take in order to become a licensed attorney in a particular jurisdiction. Bar association in that Black's Law Dictionary is described as an organization of members of the legal profession. Local bar associations, bar organizations organized on a local level, such as association within a county or city. Local bar associations are voluntary in membership. So I believe I'm still listed as a member of the Bar Association of the Ionia-Montcalm County. I don't think I'm still a member of the Midland or Saginaw Bay Bar Associations in Michigan, but I think I'm still considered a member in the Ottawa County Bar Association in Michigan. A particular court or system of courts, sorry, lost my track. State Bar Association is an association or group of attorneys that have been admitted to practice law in a given state. A bar organization on a statewide level oftentimes has compulsory membership, like Michigan and Florida. Minnesota is not one that requires membership in the state bar, but they have a similar process for regulating attorneys and the unauthorized, as they call it, practice of law. And state bar associations are usually created by statute, sometimes in the state constitution. Unlike voluntary professional development type of bar associations, which the American Bar Association is one of those, state bar associations often have the authority to regulate the legal profession by undertaking such matters as disciplining attorneys and bringing lawsuits against those who engage in the unauthorized practice of law. Okay, so what about the terms esquire, attorney, lawyer? Because part of this theory talks about, well, esquire is, essentially denoting that you have British nobility, and so you have allegiance to the crown. And so the original 13th Amendment says that you can't have, you're kicked out of the United States, you're no longer a citizen, you're treasonous if you have any kind of title of nobility in any kind of foreign government. Okay, esquire in Black's Law Dictionary, a title of courtesy commonly appended after the name of a lawyer. Doesn't say British lawyer, doesn't say allegiance to the crown, because it's not a thing. Attorney, a person who practices law, and it tells you to look at the definition of lawyer. Lawyer, one who is licensed to practice law. And what's interesting is that it then says CF and the word attorney, meaning compare or contrast with the definition of attorney. So a lawyer according to Black's Law Dictionary, is only those attorneys who are licensed to practice law, whereas attorneys are people who practice law even if they're not licensed. I find that very interesting. Okay. So, what about, we talked about what the definitions of all these terms are. What about being, what does it mean to be a lawyer, an esquire, an attorney? Well, it's best to give you clear examples state by state. So we're going to start with Michigan. And, excuse me, in Michigan, I want you to go, excuse me, to the Michigan legislature's website if you want to follow along with where I'm getting this, but it's MCL, which means state statute, 600.901. So if you look at the compiler's note at the bottom, which actually cites a 1983 Michigan Supreme Court case, you'll see that it says attorneys have a duty to protect and inform the public. So in terms of the author of that document we found online, and a lot of the people that are subscribing to this notion of attorneys, bar attorneys in the US are, have sworn some sort of allegiance to the Crown of England. We share the same understanding that attorneys are supposed to be advocates for their clients, but they're supposed to be even more than that. They have a duty to protect and inform the public. And that's why a lot of people are so upset about, well, where have you been as an attorney fighting against everything since, all this craziness began in 2020 or before? Well, those of you who have known me since early 2020 have known I've been there since day one. Long before I ever had a YouTube channel or this Facebook page. I was calling radio stations. I was calling state legislators. I was trying to get the word out to people, letting them know what the truth was, and trying to urge people to get a hold of their state representatives and their state senators to stop all this craziness once and for all. So I share the frustration, though, that I was one of the only attorneys that was doing that. I have often said in my videos and in my speeches at various events, where are all the other attorneys? What are they doing to truly be part of that administration of justice, to protect and inform the public when something like this on such a massive scale is happening? So also, I wanted to give you a sampling from various sources all over in the justice system. Even the Michigan criminal or the model criminal jury instructions say that a public officer is a person who holds public office in the state, either elected or appointed. Okay, that's a public officer. And if you look back at Michigan codified or compiled laws, MCL 600.901, you'll see that the State Bar of Michigan is a public body whose members are licensed to practice law. So they're public officers, right? State Bar members with that MCL 600.901 are also, quote, officers of the courts of the state of Michigan. So by being an attorney, which is a court officer and a member of a public body, one is in actual service as a public official. If you jump over to those Michigan rules of professional conduct that we looked at as one of the resources for the week, a lawyer is a part of the judicial system charged with upholding the law. This isn't just prosecutors or defense attorneys or, people that are actually employed by the courts. No, a lawyer, any lawyer, a licensed lawyer, is a part of the judicial system charged with upholding the law, having, quote, a duty when necessary to challenge the rectitude of official action and uphold legal process. Apparently people don't like the truth. Okay. Curtis, if you don't like this topic and you think it's all true, I'd love to hear why it is that you think it is true. But that's Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct 1.6. and 1.0 in the preamble. So, in fact, this is something I find interesting that doesn't see a lot of light of day in popular circles or mainstream media or even court discussions. But the Michigan Rules of Professional Conduct 8.4, the official comment says that indeed a lawyer may refuse to comply with an obligation imposed by law upon a good faith belief that no valid obligation exists. So if there's some questionable thing out there, something that is, I don't know, some sort of government mandate or actually a state law or, anything like that, a court rule, something where it's not constitutional and the attorney knows that and believes that it is the right thing to do to ignore following that requirement, the attorney may refuse to follow through with that obligation. So recap, if you look at just Michigan as an example of what these other states are also doing as well, attorneys are public officials with a duty to defend legal process and the law and to protect and inform the public and need not obey questionable legal obligations. So, what does that mean, though, for the concept of being an officer of the court? So, being an officer of the court, if you look at the Michigan Constitution, Article 11, Section 1, you can see the oath of public officers, where all officers, legislative, executive, and judicial, before entering the duties of their office, they have to take the following oath: that I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of this office to the best of my ability. That sounds like an oath to the Constitution. That sounds like an oath to the U.S., and in this case, the state of Michigan Constitution. In fact, that sounds an awful lot like the oath specific to attorneys in Michigan. If you look at the State Bar of Michigan, you could probably just simply Google the attorney oath for State Bar of Michigan, but it starts with, I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan. I will maintain the respect due to courts of justice and judicial officers. So it then continues to go on to all the ways that the attorneys have duties to their clients and what the attorney is expected and required to do in representing clients, and what they're expected to not do. For example, to purposely allow their clients to perjure themselves on the stand and stuff like that. So what about the what about other jurisdictions? Well, look at the one of the other places I'm licensed to practice is the Eastern District of Michigan Federal District Court. So trial level courts for the federal level. In Michigan, it's broken down into Eastern and Western districts. I'm admitted to practice in both, but for ease of example, this is from the Eastern District of Michigan. I do solemnly swear that I will conduct myself as an attorney and counselor of this court with integrity and respect for the law. That I have read, I love this, that I have read and will abide by the civility principles approved by this court, and that I will support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. So there you have it. It's under penalty of perjury that attorneys, in order to practice in the Eastern District of Michigan Federal District Courts, are saying that they will support and defend the U.S. Constitution. Nothing about any British Accreditation Registry, nothing about the allegiance to the Queen or the Crown of England. The Minnesota law on oaths would be Minnesota Statute 358.07. It is also where I first was licensed to practice as an attorney. And it starts, I'll just read what it starts with. I do swear, well, this is written in the U, but I'm going to turn it into I. I do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and that of the state of Minnesota, and will conduct myself as an attorney and counselor at law in an upright and courteous manner. And then it continues on. Actually, it's so awesome. I'll just read it to you in full, because this is what most states say in their oath to become an attorney. This is what the bar attorneys are actually swearing an oath to. So again, this is Minnesota Statute 358.07, an oath that I have taken in my life as well, many years ago. And it is that you do swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and that of the state of Minnesota, and will conduct yourself as an attorney and counselor at law in an upright and courteous manner to the best of your learning and ability, with all good fidelity, as well to the court as to the client, and that you will use no falsehood or deceit, nor delay any person's cause for lucre or malice. So help you God. So you can't have your cases linger on for all eternity and file a whole bunch of frivolous motions because you want to ring up your client's bill, or because you're trying to wear down the other side, as one concept that's covered in this oath. It's an allegiance to all that is promised and protected and held sacred in our Constitution, as well as that underlying notion that attorneys represent clients, that they are there to further justice. Their job is to be part of that administration of justice. The New York State Constitution, Article 8, Section 1, requires that each person admitted to practice law in New York by the New York Supreme Court rules must take the constitutional oath of office in open court. The New Jersey rules governing the courts of the state of New Jersey, it's Rule 127, admission to practice law, that no person shall be admitted as an attorney to the state without first taking the oath to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of New Jersey. The Florida oath for admission to the state bar has the same. You start off, I do solemnly swear I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida. Texas, same thing. It literally, within the first part of the first sentence, you're taking the oath to support the U.S. Constitution. Wisconsin, attorney's oath of admission to the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, starts with the support to the Constitution of the United States. And California, even where a whole bunch of crazy, unconstitutional government overreach and, quite frankly, treasonous behavior in open public by government officials on a regular basis happens, even there, the Business and Professional Code section of their laws, 6067, says that every person on his admission to practice law shall take an oath to support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of California. And even the 2022 California Rules of Court, Rule 9.7, as an attorney, as an officer of the court, and then you continue on from there. So, what does this all mean? Well, in any situation, but definitely in this theory, this rumor, we must look to the supporting facts, the proof. So when I said earlier, as my example, I've always wanted to be a mermaid. If I just say that I'm a mermaid, does it make it true? Well, we need to look at the proof. Can I breathe underwater? No. Do I have some sort of tail or fins or anything of that nature? Or do I have two separate legs capable of moving me around on areas of land, on bodies of land? Yeah, it's the latter. I have legs. I walk upright. I'm not swimming around in the ocean. So even if I declare and post all over the internet that I am a mermaid, I am in fact a mere human being. And that's what the facts support. So regardless of whether you think attorneys are doing a good job, that's not an issue here. It doesn't matter if you think attorneys are, by and large, not abiding by their oath, or they are not doing their job to further the administration of justice. If they're not doing their duty to protect and inform the public, I agree, but that's not the issue. I totally agree with those sentiments, with those facts. I think there's enough facts to support that. So we need to remember that attorneys do have a duty to protect and inform the public. But let's look at what the laws, what the rules, what the Constitution actually says. What do the facts support? The facts don't support me being a mermaid. The facts don't support U.S. licensed bar attorneys being a secret member to this British Accreditation Registry, or having some sort of secret allegiance or oath to the Crown of England. Not a thing. Definitely not a thing. So, hopefully you can now understand, and I will add back in our screenshot what this is, what the bar as the British Accreditation Registry really is, which has nothing to do with attorneys, let alone attorneys in the United States. But hopefully you will take a look at those Michigan rules of professional conduct, the rules concerning the State Bar of Michigan, the rules regulating the Florida Bar, including the part that starts off, the Supreme Court of Florida by these rules establishes the authority and responsibility of the Florida Bar, an official arm of the court. What does that mean? Judicial officer. What does that mean? Constitutional oath required by the United States Constitution, Article 6. So, in fact, what clause is it? Yes, it is Clause 3. The United States Constitution, Article 6, Clause 3. The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. And lo and behold, that is the very language that you see for attorneys that have been admitted to practice in federal courts as well as state courts. So, I do hope you'll check out these resources. Like I mentioned, that frequently asked questions on the Florida Bar, I just thought I had some good places that you can click around and see different aspects, different pieces of history, what their purpose is. But if you click on the bottom here, there's the link to Oath of Admission to the Florida Bar. And it has the entire oath that you have to say, but it starts off that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Florida. And I think that says it all. I think that truly says it all. So my Get Involved challenge for this week, the thing that I am, yes, indeed, challenging you to do this very week, is to find the oath of admission for attorneys in your state. Now, if you live in Michigan or Florida, I guess you lucked out. You don't have to do much work because I essentially gave that to you. But find the oath of admission for your state, wherever you are, and read the entire oath. Not all the rules. I'm not saying read all the rules, but read the oath that attorneys have to say when they are in the courtroom and getting sworn in. What are the words that they have to swear to or affirm? Read that entire oath and really understand what each attorney is required to do in your state. Now, here's something I'm going to throw in just for those of you who are catching us live right now, and I'm not going to put this in any later post this week, most likely, but I'm going to challenge you that if you apply this to your state attorney general, especially with what's been happening all through 2020, 2021, and 2022, we are learning more and more about who our state attorney general is and what they stand for, what their positions on various freedom issues is. So more than in any other decade, I would say, quite frankly. More people now can identify, for example, that Michigan State Attorney General is Dana Nessel. People all over the U.S. have heard her, know who she is. But I would challenge you to use our challenge of the week to find the oath of admission for attorneys in your state and to really read every word of the oath and then think about your state attorney general. Are they abiding by that oath or are they not? And if you live in a state where your state attorney general is abiding by their oath, contact that office in whatever way you can, whether it's on social media or by email, phone. If you live nearby, stop in, write them a letter. Tell them how much you appreciate as a resident of your state, that you appreciate that they are abiding by their oath of office. And on the flip side, if you have a state attorney general like Dana Nessel, but that's my own opinion. You can form your own thoughts on that. Who absolutely refuses to abide by their oath of office, let alone any concept or word in the whole Constitution, state or federal, then contact your attorney general's office and let them know you are displeased that they can't figure out how to follow that oath of office. Better yet, you might even decide to report your state attorney general to your attorney grievance commission in whatever title that group might go by. But if you Google your state, Minnesota, California, Texas, wherever you live, and attorney grievance, you will find how to report a grievance against an attorney, and then use the wording of the actual attorney oath to explain what it is, how your state attorney general has gone afoul of that oath. That's my anteed up, so to speak, challenge for the week. So let me see if there are any questions that I could answer really quick. Yes. Well, there's a comment on Facebook today about the doctor's oath to do no harm. Yeah. Wow. We have seen them totally throw that out the window in 2020 through now. Yep. Let's see. Okay. So, all right. Wonderful. Okay, so I think that we've covered everything. There's some requests for upcoming topics. If you think that there is a topic out there that is urgent, pressing, important enough to cover in an episode and that we have not yet covered it, please feel free to let us know, and we will do our best to have that included in an upcoming episode, or potentially, depending on what it is, we might do a separate video about that. Well, there's 52 weeks in a year, so we will be doing at least 50 to 52 videos this year. And we, of course, want to educate you on the things that you really need to know in order to protect and secure your own freedom and the freedom of your family members, your children, your grandchildren. Please do let us know if you think there's a topic that we should check into, and we will do our best to see if we can fit it in, and hopefully sooner rather than later. If we get too flooded with suggestions, though, we may have to, of course, take those as they come, and we'll get to it eventually. But we do want to thank you for joining us today. And Again, I would remind you to sign up for our weekly newsletter and take advantage of our Restore Freedom Constitution app on your Apple app or Google Play stores. There is the U.S. Constitution and the Michigan State Constitution on there right now that you can highlight or bookmark in sections. But we are definitely looking to expand our Constitution app and make some significant improvements. So please make sure to download it. And if you have any app building experience and want to volunteer to help us expand that and get it out to even more people, please let us know, because we have definitely some fixes we need to make in there, and I need a more user-friendly experience on my end, as well as for the people that are downloading it and using it on a regular basis. Thank you so much to all of you who support the work that we're doing, and we look forward to continuing to partner with you in this fight for freedom. Thank you very much, and have an absolutely wonderful week.